Trump torches Zelensky over unread peace proposal. Europe scrambles as U.S. shifts its Russia play. Drones, diplomacy, and disarray. Pressure skyrockets for Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is set for high-stakes talks in London on Monday, meeting European leaders in a show of unity just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump accused him of not reading Washington's latest peace proposal, and as the Kremlin openly praised America's newly hardened posture toward Europe. Trump criticized Zelensky following 3 days of negotiations in Miami between U.S. and Ukrainian teams that ended without breakthroughs.
So we've been speaking to President Putin, and we've been speaking to Ukrainian leaders, including Zelensky, President Zelensky. And I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelensky hasn't yet read the proposal. That was as of a few hours ago. His people love it, but he hasn't. Russia's fine with it. Russia, I guess, would rather have the whole country when you think of it. But Russia is, I believe, fine with it, but I'm not sure that Zelensky's fine with it. His people love it, but he hasn't read it. So someday you'll explain that one to me, Jeff.
Key questions remained unresolved: security guarantees, territorial issues, and ongoing concerns that the U.S. proposal tilts in Russia's favor. Trump added that Russia would ideally want all of Ukraine and suggested Moscow may be comfortable with the current peace plan, unlike Zelensky. The comments came as the Kremlin welcomed the Trump administration's new national security strategy, which signals a major foreign policy shift. The document removes language used by past administrations describing Russia as a threat, and instead says European nations see Moscow as an existential threat. It casts the U.S. as the central broker in restoring conditions of stability within Europe and strategic stability with Russia.
We are already starting a new diplomatic week with consultations planned with European leaders. First and foremost, security issues, support for our resilience, support packages to address our threats, especially air defense, and long-term financing for Ukraine. Of course, we will discuss our shared perspective and joint positions in our negotiations. On victories, in recent days, representatives of Ukraine have held substantive talks with representatives of the President of the United States of America. Right now, the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, Rostislav Miroshnichenko, and Andriy Hnatov, the Chief of the General Staff, are on their way to Europe. I expect from them detailed information about everything that was said by the American representatives in Moscow, about the nuances that the Americans are ready to modify in negotiations with us and with the Russians.
For European governments, the timing is unnerving. The U.S. is now steering Ukraine peace talks, even as its stance toward Europe grows more confrontational, raising fears that this new posture could influence negotiations at a pivotal moment. These concerns will be front and center in London, where Zelensky meets French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Macron says the leaders will take stock of the situation and review ongoing U.S.-mediated negotiations.
I think it was important for the president to hear what the Europeans are doing, the way we envision a robust and lasting peace, and to coordinate among the different initiatives.
Did you get any clear commitments? Did you sense from him a willingness to act as a mediator with Vladimir Putin? Did he talk to you about it?
There is an ongoing effort led by China together with Brazil as part of what has been called the Friends of Peace group, which has existed for a little over a year and a half, and in which France is an observer. Then there are also special relations between China and Russia. And so on this subject, we had a deep and honest exchange on all points. And I saw a willingness from the president to contribute to stability and peace. And he took into account the arguments I mentioned regarding the Europeans' desire for a robust and lasting peace. That is to say, there are elements that guarantee Ukraine cannot be subjected to new acts of aggression. And so, yes, we have made progress. We have agreed that our foreign ministers will engage in a strengthened dialogue in the coming weeks and months to produce a joint document. Unity between the Americans and the Europeans on the Ukrainian issue is essential. And I say it, I repeat it, I emphasize it. We need to work together. We must work together. We welcome and support the peace efforts being made by the United States of America. The United States of America needs the Europeans to carry out these peace efforts because this is happening on the European continent, because we are the providers of security guarantees, because we are the ones who can also discuss sanctions, because we are the ones who hold the frozen Russian assets in our hands, to name just a few examples. And it is through this partnership that we will be effective. No mistrust, on the contrary, cooperation in service.
Ukrainian officials say the Miami talks paused Saturday, with no solutions on the toughest issues. Ambassador Olga Stefanishina said difficult issues remain, but both sides are still working on realistic and acceptable solutions. Security guarantees in territorial issues remain Kyiv's core red lines. Meanwhile, Russia continues escalating on the battlefield. President Vladimir Putin reiterated that he intends to seize the Donbas by any means, a stance Macron says shows Moscow is not seeking peace. Over the weekend, Russia launched one of its largest drone and missile barrages in months, killing at least 7 people, with more than a dozen injured. Zelensky said Russia has fired over 1,600 attack drones, around 1,200 guided bombs, and nearly 70 missiles in the past week, targeting infrastructure essential for daily life. Energy sites across Odessa, Chernihiv, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Mykolaiv were hit. Millions faced outages, with scheduled power cuts imposed nationwide, including Kyiv, where residents were without electricity for up to 12 hours. Ukraine struck back, claiming a hit on the Ryazan oil refinery, one of Russia's largest, during an overnight operation. European security concerns also deepened. Several drones were spotted off the Dublin coast as Zelensky's plane prepared to land last week. And on Thursday, drones flew near a French naval base housing nuclear ballistic missile submarines. Other drones have disrupted civilian air traffic and approached military installations. As diplomacy stalls and tensions rise, Europe, Ukraine, Russia, and the United States are now operating in a rapidly shifting strategic landscape, one that could shape the trajectory of the war and the future of European security.